I hate lack of critique, and I also hate inaccurate critique. Because when you're inaccurately critiquing people, it's going to start causing problems in their development. You're going to start making them second guess, because if you're contradicting things that their coaches are telling them, well, if everything was running properly, they wouldn't care. They would just listen to the coach.
Of course.
But that's not the case. That's not the case, because everyone knows how much influence the casters have and the community has on how they get signed. So,
I mean, it has developed a lot over the last couple of years. It's actually been really weird to see from my perspective too. I mean, I guess I've also taken an outside perspective simply because I've been forced to, and I saw the ball rolling. But Jesus Christ, due to the inability of certain obviously organizations, but it's also just like the players spend way more time on social media these days than ever. It's becoming more every single year. They care more about the image, they care more how they're representing themselves and how everyone looks at them. I mean, I would suggest anyone to just take a couple of days off and see if it actually matters, because in most cases it actually doesn't. Like the wild turds of the world who basically tweet once every 15 months about like a sponsorship tweet that is probably done by an intern. Like maybe consider that being a thing for you, so you can kind of avoid the whole I actually listen to certain people talk about me negatively.
Yeah, by the way, I know no fan wants to hear this because they all want to think that their messages are going to reach their favourite players because, maybe they are just a fan who wants to say nice job to Jensen or something. So no one wants to hear this. But I actually, if I was within an esports org, would put considerable time and effort into trying to persuade my players not to look at social media as much, especially around certain key timings, etc. Like, I know that was obviously something that classically back in the day they did in your TSM lineup amazing, but it's actually people have gone away from that heavily, and the assumption now is you should just be able to handle it. Well, I can tell you right now, that is one thing I will not tolerate, is this bullshit notion that because players make, compared to a random fan, a lot of money and are doing a dream job, it's this notion that you should have to put up with that. Nobody should, because I can tell you right now, nobody can handle it. And the reason I say that, right, is because people used to gaslight me about this for years, that I'm like just the most thin-skinned, but motherfucker, have you ever seen anyone rattle me in person on shows? Right. It's barely ever happened. Mate, Shaquille O'Neal told me on live American television he was going to punch my head in. I can handle that shit. But I tell you what, I always give this analogy. It's like if you were walking down the street and one person said, idiot, you'd go, who the fuck's that? Who cares? If every person from your perspective was like, idiot, moron, fuck, by the time you got to the end of the road, you'd lose your mind. Like, even the most sane person, it would just overwhelm them, they wouldn't be. So the problem is, like, that's one area where I have a lot of sympathy for players. Like, I even tell players, if you've never noticed this, I've maintained this my whole career. Unless someone has actually opened the Pandora's box, that they tried to fuck with me directly on Twitter. If I flame a player on Twitter, I never tag their name. I want it to be that if they really are someone who only logs in, like you're saying, to do the odd tweet and check a few DMs, he doesn't have to see any of that shit. He doesn't have to go to back and forwards or I'm not pretending to be a saint here. I definitely am harsh with people, but like, I understand the damage that can do, and I don't think random fans do, unfortunately. Like, they think really, and this is so wrong, whichever one who's got an online account knows, they think that the majority of nice comments like overwhelms the bad ones, whereas unfortunately 10 people saying nice job doesn't hit you like the person like kill yourself, never play the team. That one destroys you, unfortunately. It just does. That's just life, I'm afraid.
I think there's a principle in psychology too, where you have to you have at least a 10-to-1 ratio of good things versus bad things happening within a relationship, for example. But it's quite different when you think about social media, because it's like it's not always the same 10 people, like for example, the same people like doing the same nice things to you. As it could be random people. So it adds up. You think about the random people that do the bad things too. You're like, okay, this guy's saying something bad, and this guy's saying something bad. Even if the ratio may be 10-to-1, suddenly like the people that are putting that out, like in terms of like negative comments may actually be different, so it's like in your mind it adds up, and it's not a 10-to-1 ratio in your mind anymore. So that whole thing actually becomes a whole thing, and it's also like that we're not equipped to actually deal with social media, no matter what people want to pretend to do, that they're so advanced. We're not meant to read, like, to be that connected to other people all across the world and having to personally relate to every single comment, because you're going to do that. There's no way around it. You can do it once a day when you check it. You can fly over it and not care. But as soon as you start caring, that's when you're going to have these people like basically get to your mind, no matter it's positive or negative, So
I'm not joking. From my experience of knowing a lot of people, obviously in the industry of esports, I don't think it has anything to do with personality type, background. I don't think anyone can actually handle just reading unfiltered access to random fans. Like, no one can handle it. Like, the nicest guys in the world, Like, I mean, the best examples, by the way, are people like Broxer. Listen, I have a lot of like critique of Broxer's play. As a person, he seems like one of the loveliest people to be involved with League of Legends. He's not flaming anyone ever, and yet I guarantee when he opens his replies, it's just a shit fest. It's just people telling himself. Like, so, like people think like when I talk about like harsh comments, they're meaning when I flame people, I get respect. No, you can be the nicest player in the world, and you're still getting all the same shit. So, like, that's why I say I don't think anyone can handle that. So, I don't know what the solution is except just limit your access to it.
Yeah,
try and limit as much as you can.
I kind of wonder how it has changed with the influencers taking that much agency right now. Like, I wonder if like them having so much. I mean, strength in the scene actually has taken a toll on players too. Because I do think, I mean, I don't want to call out Dominate, like he's a bit harsh with sometimes what he's saying, and he does have a lot of pull right now. You know, like, I mean, you know, like the guy's generally a good person whenever I talk to him. So it's not like anything I have against him. It's just something to think about. It's also for me when I talk negative to a person, like how much of that is actually now driving a lot of negativity towards a player. I think it's become more and more by the influencers especially.
It's all of us. Like, we all have influence, and we don't really recognize it until we start seeing it splash out back at us, and it's like, holy crap! Like, I'm causing this, right? And it's not like, you know, we were talking about how important I Will Dominate and LS and these co-streamers are, but at the same time, they're not perfect either. You know, I Will Dominate was pissed off at Ica and had a huge target on Ica's back just because of something that happened in solo queue. Said this on stream, and he continued to target him on it. You know, LS will target a lot of coaches, for instance, even though there's aspects of coaching I don't think he always appreciates, and he can be very iron-willed with how he views the game. And anyone that doesn't view it the same way, he questions their ability at the game. You know, we don't, like you were talking about, we really don't understand the impact social media has on us. There's a lot of stuff coming out research-wise that's like very alarming.
It drives us into a black and white scenario for every sense of thinking. The nuance gets lost. Like, the inability to discuss on Twitter is actually like a huge thing, because like past 1 of 40 characters you can't really write anything, and then if you reply, like obviously you have a couple of replies, but that discussion becomes diverted into multiple like single strands. So that in itself is all like dangerous. So people are usually just taking black and white takes and like, okay, this is bad, this is good, whatever it is, and then they get like, and that take is also what they tend to like almost like that they take away. So next guy's always, oh, this guy tweeted that, so I'm going to do the same thing. You know, make it short, make it concise, make it black and white. So there's no nuance whatsoever, and people like get into that thinking that like either someone is good or someone is bad. It's not like a ranking anymore. We're like, okay, this guy has these qualities, this guy has these qualities. It's always like, no, this guy's terrible, or this guy's really good.